What's up, amigos? Today we have some pretty big news, and I can't express how big this is. It's just 2 months away from release, and the Diablo team just dropped some huge class balance changes. Honestly, it's pretty exciting. So this video won't be too long, but I don't want it to be too short either, because although the changes are few, but they are very, very significant. So we're going to go ahead and start off just with the general section here. We lead off with effects like stun and freeze can be applied to elite monsters twice as long before they become unstoppable. This is more just like the diminishing returns and other maybe MMOs. And since we are leaning towards MMOs, they want to bring that aspect into the Diablo game. They also reviewed class skills to confirm that all classes have access to sufficient skills that remove crowd control impairing effects. What they mean by this is they want the diversity in every class to make sure that they can break free of all those CCs that may just one-shot you. They also have updated the effectiveness of many legendary powers. We don't know what this means. Obviously, we'll find out on release. I doubt that we'll see them data mined or anything like that. But this is pretty interesting because there were a bunch of uniques that just played no value, especially in some of the builds that, I was making for Druid and many other creators have made for other classes. So let's go ahead and start off with Barbarian. The first thing here is a flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class. Now, I don't know if this is just misworded. I don't know if this is actually what they meant to do, but I don't think the Barb needed a passive damage reduction. I think they needed a nerf to their damage. They were already one-shotting everything. There were plenty of builds that were insane enough to just generally not take a hit at all because they were blowing everything up before they could even take a hit. I don't understand the reasoning behind this. I guess maybe more of the casual player who, maybe leveling up, they were getting beat on a lot, but I started my Barb, day one after I played around with Sorcerers, and I had no problems at all leveling. I even leveled up through Upheaval, which is considerably the slowest of the skills, which ironically became the strongest build in beta because of all the legendary powers that you can mix and match. They also say some skill tree passes had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. Again, I just don't understand why they gave the Barbs a passive damage reduction. This just means, they're just going to speed by faster. And talking about speed, let's talk about the Whirlwind skill. The Whirlwind skill now deals more damage and consumes more fury, and that's the con to it. So Whirlwind, everyone knows leveling up Whirlwind was weak. It was probably the worst skill that you can use at the time. Everyone leveled up. As far as I'm aware, they leveled up with the Lacerate build. Again, as I said earlier, I leveled up with Upheaval. I see no problems with it, but everybody that I knew, a bunch of friends, they said they leveled up with Lacerate Bleed, and it was really fast. I don't know if this is going to make a huge difference leveling up, but this is going to make a huge difference when you hit mid-game and definitely end-game when you're mixing up uniques into the Whirlwind. There were Whirlwind builds in the beta that people came up with that were absolutely insane. The speed was there. It was like you were playing Diablo 3. You were just blowing everything up instantly. So, the next one is the Double Swing skill enhancement refunds its full fury cost when used on stunned or knocked down enemies. So this I really don't have an opinion on because I didn't really see a lot of gameplay when it came to Double Swing. I don't know if it was good. I don't know if it was bad. I don't know if this change makes it better or makes it worse. To me, it seems like it would be great because Barbs have a lot of AoE CC built into their kit, built into their tree. So I could see this going a long ways, but Double Swing just seems like one of those very niche builds and niche abilities in general. Now, some changes that I am personally stoked for are the Druid changes. So, companion skills will now deal heavily increased damage. Now, this is something that I agree with, but I also have my concerns. So, towards the end of the beta, a zoo build came out, and what I mean by that is just a full companion build. I was also working on one in the beta. I didn't get all the legendaries that I needed, but I knew that it was going to scale really well. I didn't know that it was going to scale really well in the beta, but I knew that towards the end game, when we get full release, that companion skills were going to be insane. Now that they deal heavily increased damage, the way that they word this, it could be a little too overpowered, and I may actually just start my Druid with companion. I think that it'll be really, really easy and fast when you're leveling with the companion skills, especially when you're leveling with wolves. Wolves alone, they are absolutely insane, and you have the potential of getting the early legendaries to transform your wolves into werewolves very early. I think this is a great change. I think it'll bring back a lot of the love for summoner builds and pet builds for Diablo, which they're iconic. So ultimate skills have had their cooldowns reduced. All ultimate skills. So Druids, and I think this was one of the main gripes that people had with Druid, their ultimates are lackluster, I guess you can say, compared to the other classes. Ultimates are supposed to be that massive skill, you know, that A, look cool, and B, do tons of damage or have great utility. Druids, when there's, you know, one of the was Grizzly Rage, another one was the stone, you know, I think you encase everything in stone around you, CC and everything. Those are more utility, and when you pop your Grizzly, it's just, you're a werebear, okay? I don't think that really justifies being an ultimate. The other one was the Lacerate skill, I believe, where you jumped around the enemies 20 times or something crazy like that. It was also very, very lackluster because I believe, maybe it's bugged, don't really know, but it did not work as people wanted it to on single target. But the fact that their cooldowns are reduced because they did have, you know, considerably longer cooldowns than other ultimates on other classes. I believe they were upwards to 90 plus seconds. You know, I think it's an improvement overall. Usability improvements have been made to maul and pulverize. So I don't really know what they mean by this. I didn't have any problems with maul and pulverize. You know, is it clunky? Sure, but it's one of those attacks that, you know, it's directional, I guess you can say, right? Where the animation just feels clunky. Maybe that's what they improved, or maybe this is something to do with, I don't know, maybe stuttering in the mouse, or maybe on controller, who knows. Using a non-shape-shifting skill will transform a druid back into their human form. I was under the impression that this is what happened regardless. I feel like this happened plenty of times when I was using Grizzly Rage and then popping my Landslide, because for a while that's what I was running in my Landslide build. I was running Grizzly Rage to come in and more mobility because you have your charge in Grizzly Rage. But I guess that wasn't the case for all the skills. I don't know. So let's move on to Necro. Now Necro, these are really, really big nerfs for the Necro. And a lot of people are going to be very, very upset with it. So your summon minions will die more often now, requiring players to utilize corpses more often. So this is just more micromanaging, and nobody likes micromanaging at all in video games, alright? It's just, that's a proven thing. Nobody enjoys that kind of gameplay. Now you're gonna have to micromanage if you want to have a corpse mancer, if you just want to have, you know, minions at all. You're just gonna have to make sure that they're always up, always looking up at the top of your screen to see if your minions are active, how many minions are active. So this could be a definite con for a lot of people who are looking forward to Necro. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. this is great, I guess. It allows more diversity for different builds. Now here's the big one. Damage dealt by the corpse explosion skill has been reduced. This obviously was the most popular skill in the entire beta for Necros. It was screen tearing, it was screen filling, it would kill FPS. And it did massive amounts of damage. This has been reduced, and we don't know if it is a total build killer. I don't want to believe that it is, but it needed to be nerfed. And those people who don't think that, you guys really need to look at it comparative to other builds and other classes. This skill was insane. So I think personally that this is good. I don't think it's going to be massive. I don't think it's going to be, you know, game breaking. I think the skill and build will be viable still, just not as crazy as it was. This change is just weird. I don't know, maybe, and you know, between my monitor settings, my graphics settings, I don't know. But the brightness of skeletal warriors and mages has been reduced. I didn't think that this was an issue. This is pretty, it's random. It's one of those random feedbacks I got. I mean, I want to believe that it was, you know, people had the same complaint, like massive amounts of people and not just a few, because this, you know, it's just a random thing. Upgrades for subterfuge skills have had their bonuses increased for rogue. I didn't really play a lot of rogue. It was one class that in the beginning I felt was, you know, and obviously it turned into something totally different, but in the beginning, leveling up especially, I thought the rogue was incredibly weak. I wanted to get the most time out of every class. Rogue is one of those classes that I spent the least amount of time on, that and Necro, although I did research Necro more. I know Rogue turned out to be one of the most insane damaging classes, so I don't really have an honest opinion about Rogue. If any of you think that these were significant or maybe game breaking, go ahead and comment down below. So one thing that I think we can agree on is multiple passive skills have had their bonuses increased. It doesn't matter what class this is always a huge change. Passive skills play a huge role in ARPGs and a huge role in MMOs. So yeah, this right here, this is great. I don't know, I wish that we knew which skills because this is very vague, okay? I wish we knew which skills that were increased. This could be the worst skills possible, right? The worst passives imaginable in the tree, but who knows? Hopefully we find out before release. If not, that's fine. So this is one thing that I do know. The imbuements is what made the rogue build so crazy, and I don't know if I really agree with this change because I think it's the only thing that made rogues really over the top. And I mean, rogues, they deserve their chance to have fun too. Hopefully this isn't too insane. Hopefully it's maybe just a second or two and not like 3 to 5 seconds, because that would be, again, would just be game changing. So Sorcerer, anybody who has watched my previous videos, especially going over uniques, you should know I'm not a huge fan of Sorcerer in Diablo 4. I think they did the class dirty, and I can understand why in a sense. I mean, Diablo 2, they're just overplayed, right? Sorcerers are just, they are the queens of Diablo 2. Anyone who has played Diablo understands that. They know what I mean. Diablo 3, Wizard, for the longest time, it was the most meta class aside from Demon Hunter. I think that they want to balance out other classes more than the Sorcerer, and I think it's because they don't want people just stapling back to just playing Sorcerer and being the class of the game. I don't think these changes are great. Charge Bolt's damage was increased. The mana cost to cast has been decreased. So I believe I went over this in another video of mine. Charge Bolts is lackluster. It is a skill that is supposed to be screen filling. It is supposed to be screen tearing, just like corpse explosion was with Necro. And Necro, their damage was decreased, but it's the impact that it has on screen is what Charge Bolts is supposed to have. Charge Bolt shoots like 4 bolts. I mean, it's a garbage skill. I don't think damage increase and mana cost to cast decrease is going to make this skill viable at all. And it's sad to see. Decrease the damage of Chain Lightning, reduce its effectiveness against bosses. So it was pretty crazy to see Chain Lightning just absolutely melting bosses in 2 seconds, but this is the only thing that sorcerers had going for them. Only thing. Decrease the cooldown for the Incinerate skill's enchantment bonus. The skill is garbage. Hopefully and I guess, you know, the argument could be made that maybe they scale better late game. Their skills are going to get better. We also didn't have the intensity thing implemented into the beta. But for me, these skills are garbage. Charge Bolt, Incinerate, the only build that I felt was viable was Chain Lightning, and Hydra was a great skill. Firewalls will now spawn underneath enemies more frequently when using the enchantment bonus. Man, Firewall, talk about lackluster. I mean, Firewall, it seemed like you needed to cast 17 Firewalls and have them somehow stay up to stack that damage up, to ramp it up enough to kill a single mob. Increase the lucky hit chance for the Meteor skill's enchantment bonus. This I'm not even aware of. I actually don't know what this is. Hopefully it's decent. Actually, I wonder if the Meteor skill's enchantment, again, I don't know what it is, but I can assume that it's a lucky hit would cast another Meteor to fall on the ground. And that's it for the class changes. Again, this is already running past what I wanted it to run by. This is, you know, after trimming and stuff, it's going to be about a 12, maybe 13-minute video, which is about average what we've been on the news videos. To cut it off, though, developers note, whenever we introduce changes to our classes, it is with a goal of making both them and their skills feel impactful and powerful. Your feedback has helped us uphold this ideal. Some players have adeptly noticed that the certain skills were too powerful. One of our goals for skills is to have them be interesting to wield and interactive in terms of itemization and combat feel. We've made some changes to help in this regard, with one example being the Necromancer's minions. We've made a change that makes them more vulnerable in combat, which will make Raising the Dead a more active component of the Necromancer's gameplay. So, I can see out of a game developer's point of view that they think this is good, but at the end of the day, the fun factor is not more micromanagement. But, you know, we'll see how it pans out. Hopefully, you know, it's not too tedious. I think it will be tedious, but I'm just one person. Launch is just the first step of our class balance journey, and you can expect further updates that iterate on this pillar of Diablo 4. So, between these changes, and we have the dev stream coming up in 6 days talking about endgame, maybe we'll get some more sneak peeks at some more balance changes, class changes, who knows. But until next time, enjoy yourselves, enjoy the news, and I'll see you soon in Sanctuary.